Hi everyone, welcome to Cake Talk. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. Okay, it's a very, very, very dark, rainy day today in Toronto, but I'm gonna try and be upbeat. So let's get started. The first question is from kapow_05 on Instagram. Do you want to come to Norway? If so, what city? I absolutely want to come to Norway. I'd love to go to Oslo. I'd love to go up north and see the Northern Lights. I love Scandinavia, but have only been to Sweden so far. So I'd love to come check it all out. Thanks for your question. Next question. Oh boy. Okay. This is from Rhea Brown on Instagram. How do you get buttercream pipeable? Because when I make buttercream, it always kind of slides off, even if it is completely cooled. Okay, it really depends on what you're piping it onto. Buttercream on buttercream should always stick, definitely. But you don't want your cake to be necessarily too cold, especially if it sweats, because if there's sweat on the outside and you start to pipe, then yes, your buttercream will slide off. You can fix that by turning your fridge down to the lowest cold setting, or sort of taking a paper towel and just sort of taking off any moisture, or letting your cake sit out so all the condensation comes off and it's a little bit softer before you start to pipe buttercream. I hope that was helpful. Next, this is a good question and nobody's really ever asked this. It's from Jaylene_B19 on Instagram. How do you prepare for the show? Well, in terms of baking, as you can see, every video starts with my cakes already baked, my buttercream already made. What else is done? I color all the fondant because these things take a long time, so the video would be a lot longer, and essentially it's the same process every time. So I do all of that to prepare for the video. Plus, if there's any gum paste components or components that have to be hard already, I've made those ahead of time. I will show you in the video how I did it, but I have to make it ahead of time to let it dry in real time. And then mentally, I try to relax. I try to remind myself that I could do it, because the stress of filming is that I have to film it all in one day, in one shoot. So those are very long days, but in reality, if I needed an hour to myself, or I needed to walk away, or I needed to run to the grocery store or something like that, I can do all those things. And when I worked for myself, if I had to work all night long or get up really early, I could do all those things. But when we're filming, there is a cost involved in filming, which is something that people have a hard time figuring out. And so we film it all in one day, and I have to sort of wrap my head around the fact that I need to do that. So I remind myself to take it moment by moment, and do what I have to do, and I try and relax. But thanks for that question. I don't think anyone's ever asked that. Okay, this is from KEC You Can't Touch Me on Instagram. Will you ever come to America? It's all capitals. Well, I have been to America, but just for my personal visits. Where have I been in America? I've been to New York, Chicago, Miami, Washington. I need to look at my tax. I think that's it. Is that it? I'm probably missing something. The only time I went for How to Cake It is when I went to New York in February to be on the Today Show, which it was amazing. Every time I go to New York, I count my New York minutes, because it's that kind of city where things just happen and they're so great. So obviously being on the Today Show was my last great New York minute. Next. Okay. Here's a question from Jessica Renner on Insta. How long do you need to cool your cakes between each step? That depends on what I'm doing. Coming up on How to Cake It, there's a cake that I made that is so big I couldn't fit it in my fridge. And so I actually couldn't cool it at all, which causes a lot of problems, because the reason I chill it Sometimes I chill cakes in their pans a lot of the time when I have to sculpt it. It makes it so much easier for you to sculpt the cake, less crumbs, it's more stable. So there's a lot of great reasons for doing that. And then when I crumb coat and chill, I do that so the buttercream underneath is nice and solid and chilled. So when I put my fondant on, it's not moving around and oozing out the bottom. So when I don't chill, or in this case, I couldn't chill this upcoming cake, it's really difficult and I have to be that much more gentle about how I put on the buttercream and how I, smooth the fondant on the cake. So it really depends on what you're making. I always say the best test is sort of the touch. So when you put your cake in the fridge, if you touch the buttercream and it's coming off in your finger, then it's not chilled enough. Okay, I'm going to answer some of these questions here because I'm so glad you're all here live with me. Okay, now, here's a good question from Tommy Wan. How many times do you make the cake before recording? None. I get asked this question a lot. Absolutely none. We film every week, 1 to 2 episodes. I need to do all the prep work for those episodes. We do a ton of social media. Not to mention, I am a mom of a toddler, and that takes up a lot of time. I really try to devote my weekend to my son. And so never. These cakes take so long. As you can see on our time-lapse videos on Facebook, they take so long that I don't have the time to do them once and then do them again. Also, cake decorating is not sort of the cheapest art form. The ingredients are expensive and the tools are expensive. So I already have so much cake to give away. I couldn't have double the cake to give away. Thank you for your question. Next question. This is from Stella Yang. What did I just do? Oh boy. Stella Yang, would you love to visit Asia? I have visited Asia. Yay! I've been to Japan and Thailand, 2 of my favorite countries. I want to go pretty much everywhere in Asia. I would love to go to Cambodia. I would love to go to Singapore and Malaysia. I want to go everywhere. I want to go everywhere. That's why I have a map. I want to fill it with text. Thanks for your question, Stella. Next. Okay, this is a good question from Amy Tao. Greetings from Pennsylvania. Greetings. How sweet would you describe your chocolate cake? I want a semi-sweet cake, and if your cake isn't semi-sweet, how can I make it that way without ruining the cake? Good question. I would definitely say my cake is semi-sweet. It's not super sweet, but a way to make it even more semi-sweet is make a nice dark chocolate ganache. So make your ganache with like a 72% cocoa solid chocolate and fill your chocolate cake with that. And that's how you get it really chocolatey, dark chocolate. I have also added, about a cup of dark chocolate calays to my recipe while baking. So the part where you, where the hot water of the cocoa, I'll put chocolate in there too and melt it along with the cocoa. This just makes it a little bit more intensely chocolate without making the cake too much more dense. But in my opinion, the best way is to fill the cake with ganache rather than buttercream, because buttercream is definitely sweeter than ganache. So thanks for your question, Amy. Okay, next. Okay, this is from Haley Villanova. I hope I said that right. Hi from the Philippines. Hello. Oh, the Philippines. That's high on my list too. And I love baking. What can you advise for a beginner? Okay. I would say start small. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, cake decorating can be expensive. So like a good cake on how to cake it to start with would be emoji, because it's fun. If you're aiming for like a fondant cake. It's fun. You don't need a ton of fondant, so you just buy a small package and practice. Emoji cake looks good at any size, so if you don't want to do a 5-inch, you could do an 8-inch. It's not 2 layers, so you can really practice sort of icing the cake, getting it smooth, putting on fondant on a cake that's not too tall or not too big, because the bigger you have to roll out your fondant, the harder it becomes to work with. And that's what I would say. Just sort of start small and don't stress yourself out, because that's how I started. I taught myself how to work with fondant, and that's how I started. I just made cakes for my friends and my family, and I practice. I really believe that practice makes perfect. I believe that. I think you can read and watch, but until you do it, you don't really know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and how to work on them. And also environmental factors that come into play with cake decorating. So thank you for your question, Haley. Okay, next. Oh, this is a great question. Okay, I hope I say your name right. It's from, I think it's Letitia or Letitia. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. Hello from Germany. Hello. How long can I keep my fondant after first working with it? I think you might mean keep it out in the air. So I'll answer both ways. When you're working with fondant, you always want to, whatever scraps you sort of cut away, the excess you cut away, you want to quickly knead that back up, put a little shortening on your hands if you need to, if it's dry, if there's a lot of icing sugar on it. Knead it back up into a ball and cover it completely in plastic very tightly, no air, and keep it in an airtight container. So don't leave the scraps lying around while you continue. Of course, cover your cake, get it all smooth. That's really important. But as soon as you're done that, put away the extra so that it doesn't start to get a skin on top. And then when you start to work it back together, you can't break down that skin and you see little chunks. If you mean in general, fondant has a long shelf life. So long as you keep it tightly wrapped in a cool, dry space, it has a very long shelf life. I think I have a pail of fondant and the expiry date is literally like 5 or 10 years later. And even when it does go bad, it's not that it grows mold, it's that it just dries up completely and you will know. As soon as you touch it or try to knead it or roll it, you will be able to tell that it's going bad. So it's very obvious. So I hope that helped, and I'm sorry about your name. Done. Okay. Okay, this is from, oh, I love your name, Marshmallow. What's your favorite part about baking, decorating? I'm Nicole from Korea, Hong Kong. Hi, Nicole. My favorite part, which I think is sort of everybody's favorite part about sort of watching how to cake it, is the transformation. I love that I can take, butter, eggs, sugar, flour, and end up turning that into a stack of books, or what else have I made? A pot of spaghetti and meatballs, or whatever it might be. Even the other, like the mega cakes. The thing that I love about the mega cakes is I don't have as many restrictions as I do with fondant cakes. So like the mega breakfast cake, those are all things I love for breakfast, and I pile them all into one cake, and I get to have all those flavors at once. That cake wouldn't work underneath fondant. It would be very lumpy and bumpy, and everything would be swishing out, and there would be no support. So with baking and decorating, I definitely think it's the transformation that I love, and bringing, flavors and colors together and textures together. Thank you for your comment from Marshmallow. How sweet. Okay, next. Oh, this is a good question. And this is from Tanishqua. Hello. You're here like all the time. Thank you so much. Let me hit select. I finally learned how to use the side of this, by the way. I have to select the question. Then it doesn't run away from me. Thank you, Amy, for that tip. Can candy melts be used for frosting? No. The reason being that they just harden really fast, like they set really fast. So especially if your cake was chilled and then you tried to ice it, it would be setting as you went along. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure you could pour them over a cake and let it drip down completely and sort of make a nice sort of hard shell around your cake. But the act of actually frosting a cake, it would be really difficult. I used candy melts in my Easter mega cake, and I covered my coconut macaroon layers. And even as I spread that on the bottom, it set up almost instantly. So I can't imagine trying to get all the way around a cake and then go back and smooth it. It'll just make your life more difficult. Okay, so next. Oh, here's a great question. This is from Karen. Oh, but oh, I can't attempt it. I'm sorry. Hi, I have a question. When are you going to have a special guest on How to Cake It? I have a special guest coming up on How to Cake It, and he brings 2 other guests. And it is on the episode with the cake that I talked about a bit earlier that I couldn't chill. I couldn't put it in the fridge because it was too big. So I'm going to have 3 special guests on How to Cake It really soon. I think it's in 2 weeks. So I hope you enjoy it. I can definitely say I've never had this kind of special guest in my kitchen, in my life, in general. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you. Maybe I should get back to, there are so many questions on Instagram. I don't even know how this is possible. Oh, wow. Here's a good question from Marty Moose on Instagram. If you had to choose one cake to eat for the rest of your life, what would it be? Oh, I know what it would be. And again, it ties into this upcoming episode. It would be banana chocolate. I love banana cake. I love banana bread. I love it. I love it with chocolate chips. I love it with chocolate ganache. I love it layered with chocolate and banana cake like I did in my t-shirt cakes. I just love that combination. So I think it would be that. But it would be hard for me to give up other things. Like I really love carrot cake. That would be really hard for me to give up. So thanks for that question. Next. Ooh, this is an excellent question. It's from Dance Dollys Six on Instagram. If you could bake a cake with one famous baker, who would it be? Okay, I need a minute. I honestly think that it would be Mike McCary, who I'm a big fan of. I love his cakes. And I think I would just want to be around him. So yeah, I'm going to say Mike McCary. And that has been my answer for a really long time. Okay, next. Okay, this is from Dan Donna _model on Insta. I have a question about fondant. When I roll it and put it on the cake, it always gets so many cracks. So how do you get the fondant nice and beautiful? Thank you. Well, number 1 is kneading it really, really well. So knead it well, try to work all the seams into a ball, underneath a ball of fondant, rolling it quickly and covering your cake quickly. So don't sort of roll it and leave it there because then it already starts to form that skin. And I also want to say that different brands are really different. Some fondants form a skin much faster than others, so it's good to try out a lot of them. Where you live and the temperature is a big factor. I find that a bigger problem here in the winter than I do in the summer. And then I actually have a video that's fondant hacks. It's the cake I make. I make a vanilla cake for Kin Community, who I'm a part of, and I talk about a whole bunch of fondant hacks there. And if you go on my blog at howtocakeit.com, I break them down in further detail, my favorite fondant tips. But do try other fondants, because I find that sometimes people try one brand and then they think, oh, well, this is how fondant is, which is not necessarily true. If your fondant is dry, you can work in a bit of shortening to help that out. But again, really practice. Don't use too much icing sugar or cornstarch. And have a look at my blog post on fondant, and I hope that helps you out. Okay, next. Oh, okay. Okay, here's one. This is from Amy Jpu on Insta. Hey, this is the first time I've ever posted for someone's Q&A. Well, thank you. And I'm happy to be doing it for Cake Talk. I'm happy you're doing it too. Are you always planning for your cakes, or do ideas just suddenly come into your head? A bit of both. We have a filming schedule, and we always try to keep in mind special dates and holidays and things that people are excited about. But there's also, I have a whole list of ideas written on paper of things that I just want to make and have always wanted to make. So it's a bit of both. And sometimes I'm out and about and I see something, it doesn't even have to be food, and I'll think, oh yeah, that. So I'm always thinking about it. And now I have my partners, Jocelyn and Connie, who have done a bit of cake thinking too, even though they don't make cakes. So they think of great ideas too. And yeah, but I mean, cakes have been in my head for a really long time. I don't think I know how to not think about cakes. That's really hard for me. Thank you so much for your question. I'm going to get back to the screen. This is a question I get asked constantly. This is from Vaishnavi Kular. Also, when are we going to see Jocelyn? Everybody wants to know this. Jocelyn is welcome on camera whenever she's ready. She's right there with me usually. She could just scoot in front of the camera and say hi. She's always welcome. So we have to be patient until she's ready, because I can't force her. I might try, but I can't force her. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Oh my gosh, they're just coming. Okay, here's one from Taylor O. Since you're so good at making cakes and decorating them, are you good at art, like painting and drawing? I'd say I'm definitely better at painting than drawing. I draw like a child. And which is not a bad thing. I just wouldn't say it could be my career. I'm definitely good at painting. I also really liked sculpting and like building things when I was a kid. There was a popular kids show when I was little. It's called Mr. Dress Up, and he used to make all these little crafts, and I loved it. I would make my mother save every egg carton, every like paper towel, empty roll, pipe cleaners, everything, and I had this little kit, and every time Mr. Dress Up was on it, I would be ready. I loved doing that. I would love to watch that now and make those crafts. Maybe he's on YouTube. Thank you, Taylor. Okay, next up, okay, here's another question. How do I get dark colored buttercream? Because if I use a lot of color, the taste changes. This is from Shravani Narvakar. I hope I said that right. Yes, dark buttercream is a hard one. I often don't like making dark buttercream. Sometimes I'm forced. I find whenever I have to make dark buttercream, it's usually red. Like when I did the ketchup, yeah, it's usually red, which is really hard. Or in Walter, it wasn't quite red, but it was like a pinkish red, like a watermelon. Yes, it definitely changes the taste because you have to add so much, because you're starting with white and then you're adding all this color to make it a dark color. You're not just making, light pink or soft yellow. So I usually choose, if I need to go really dark, I choose ganache. Like in Rubik's Cube, that's why I chose to use, also structurally, but I chose to use dark chocolate ganache, and then I could just add a container of black and it turned it black. If I had tried to dye buttercream black, it would have taken so much black, and it would have not only changed the taste, but it would have changed the consistency of the buttercream, adding that much liquid. So my advice is try ganache, or try, yeah, it's really hard. And whenever I had clients, I would always warn them about the taste factor. It's just sort of true of the dark colors, blue, purple, black, red, green, because it takes so much color to make it dark. Okay, but thank you. Next. Wow, this is from Sky Shader. Hi, Yolanda, what's the hardest cake that you've ever made in your life? And have you ever made a video of it? Love from Ireland. Ireland on my list. I'm sure I've made a video of it. I can't tell you how many times I'm making a cake on how to cake it, and I'm telling Chet or Sasha, this is so hard. This is so hard. It doesn't make it into the video, but I say it all the time. I really remember turkey being very hard, just because the whole thing is sculpted. And the upcoming cake that I talked about earlier with the special guest and the chocolate banana, that was hard for the same reason as turkey, because so much of the design of the cake depends on sculpting. And then even when the sculpting is done, it depends on painting. So that I find really, really, really hard, especially when my only model is a picture and I really want to get it right. And I have to sort of in my mind tell myself I can do it and do it really slowly. I find that to be the most difficult, especially when it's not something that I can, when I make a book cake, I can measure the book and then measure the cake and then cut it the same size. If I'm making a turkey, every turkey is a different size. They're like people. So it's really hard. And sometimes when I'm looking at it if I'm looking at the structure in just cake form, like before it's iced or has fondant, it's sort of hard to see the shape because I see the layers, I see the buttercream, and that distracts from the shape. So if I ever find that I get to that point, I'll give it a quick crumb coat so I can look at it in one color and see if I want to continue carving. Thank you for your question. Okay, this is an excellent question. This is from XEpicMeet. What made you start a YouTube channel for your cakes? Well, it was actually Connie and Jocelyn, my partners, who approached me and wanted to make a YouTube channel of me. I've been making cakes for about 15 years at that point, but I had my son and I was on mat leave and I was seriously considering stopping making cakes just because when you make cakes, you're married to your weekend. They also take a very long time, which is something nobody realizes. And it's kind of a hard living to earn because people don't know the work that goes into it. And so it's very hard to get paid at this job and earn an honest living, certainly where I come from, especially. So they approached me and I was literally at home nursing my son and they were like, we want to make a YouTube channel of you. And I was like, I thought to myself, what a great idea, because I could make these little videos and we could just start slowly and, then I could be with my son and if I need to bring him, I can do that. So I love the thought of that and changing my life this way. Lo and behold, How to Cake It grew so quickly thanks to all of you amazing people. And now it's my full-time job. I don't even make cakes for clients because How to Cake It is my full-time job as well as being a mom. And so I'm very thankful to Connie and Jocelyn because they really did change my life. And I knew it would be fun and great. I did not know it would be this much fun and so great, and that all of you would even want to watch me do the thing that I have loved doing for years. So thank you so much, and thank you for being here. Next. Oh, here's a great question. I get asked this a lot. This is from Dayang Norafida. Hi, Linda. Have you ever considered doing a tour and meetup with your fans all over the world? It actually says all over the all over the world. Yes, of course I've considered it. I would love nothing more. I'd also love to tour the world and meet cake decorators who I love, because a lot of them are in different countries all over the place. That's a big dream of mine and for all of us at How to Cake It, because you're all the reason that we're even here. We can't make a YouTube channel if you don't watch a YouTube channel. Well, we could, but you know what I'm trying to say. So of course, I would love to meet all of you. I think it's so unfathomable to me when I see the number of likes or even the number of questions on Cake Talk that these are all real people all over the world, sitting here with me, talking to me, asking me questions, and that's amazing. So yes, I would love to. I hope it can happen sooner rather than later. Thank you. Okay, next. Okay, this is from Portia Hurt. Oh, my aunt's name is Portia. What advice do you give about icing a cake with buttercream? Now, it depends on the type of buttercream. I make Italian meringue buttercream, as you know. I say it all the time. My advice is, first of all, make sure you make the buttercream correctly. Make sure it's at room temperature before you use it. And then the way I always crumb coat and chill. Always. This holds your crumbs against the cake so that when you're icing it, you can really focus on that and not be annoyed by like all the chocolate cake crumbs in your buttercream. And also I like to just sort of apply, a generous amount to the sides and then use my spatula or a bench scraper sometimes to smooth and take away all the excess. And the great thing about buttercream is it's more forgiving than you would think, because if you need to go back, you can. You can chill it, let it get completely set, and then go add a very thin layer if you feel that the cake is not straight enough or not smooth enough. So it's a lot more forgiving than you think it is. Now, that's not necessarily true of American buttercream or a buttercream that crusts, because once you create that crust, if you go back, you're going to start sort of ripping that off. But if you're using Italian meringue buttercream or Swiss meringue buttercream, it's more forgiving than you think. And give yourself the time, and just, if you get upset, just put it aside to chill yourself, and then go back and try again. Okay. Oh, time is almost up. Okay, I'm going to answer another question. What? This is from Tommy 1. Oh, I answered a question from you earlier. What baking school would you recommend if you know? I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people go to the Cordon Bleu. I didn't. I went to school to be a chef, so I didn't go to baking school. And I always say it depends on what you want to learn. Like, I'm not a pastry chef. I'm a cake decorator. So a lot of what I've learned about cakes came from working in bakeries. And then everything I know about fondant came from doing it myself and practicing. But if you want to learn, you know, if you want to be a pastry chef and learn all the traditional French classics, then I think the world has really opened up to that. Although I think those schools have always been there, I think there's so much more interest in baking that now there are more of them. And I'm sure that you could find a great one. I'm sorry that I'm not more out there. Okay, next. Okay, I need to answer this question because this is, oh, good day from Australia. Good day. It's currently 12:30 in the morning. Well, thank you for being with me here. What was the first decorative cake you ever made? This is from They Call Me Britty. Okay. Oh, I hope you can't hear my stomach growling. The first decorative cake I've ever made. You know, I have all my pictures, like actual printed pictures before digital. The first cake I ever made was buttercream. It was white. I don't remember what I made the inside. White buttercream and then nicely iced. And then I took raspberries and lined them all around the top edge like a border. And then I wrote happy birthday. It was actually for a really lovely lady who turned 90. And then I got some fresh roses. My mom loves gardening. So I took some roses from her garden and I sugared them, which is where you like beat egg whites till they're frothy and you brush that on the petals and then you sprinkle on sugar and you shake off the excess and then they sort of look crystallized and pretty. And that lady's name was Doris. She was wonderful. I hope you're loving life, Doris, still. So that ends Cake Talk. Thank you for being here. I'm so sorry I have to go. I'm actually recreating Walter Mellon today for an event here in Toronto with Kin. So I'm really, really excited. I gotta go work on, you know how Walter is. I'm not paying enough attention to him. I have to go out, get to my kitchen and work on Walter. So thanks for being here. I look forward to the next Cake Talk and I'm sorry if I didn't answer all your questions. Bye-bye.